I love learning, and I've had many excellent teachers and mentors in my life. So when a local school was looking for after-school volunteers to help students with their homework, I eagerly responded. I wondered if I'd be able to motivate and inspire them by sharing my creativity and passion for learning. At first, it wasn't as easy to be accepted by them as I thought it would be, until I started bringing my magic pen. I was surprised when Laura met me at the classroom door and shouted, "You're mine today!" She had called dibs on me. "Will you do my name?" she asked. "Did you bring your calligraphy pen?" I nodded. She was a tough little cookie, always looking for something other than her homework to do. But maybe this would settle her down. I carefully wrote her name on her homework paper, and she beamed. A couple of the other girls were watching and asked if I'd do the same for them. As soon as I turned my attention to them, however, Laura started getting restless, looking for a way out of doing her homework. I waved her protests away with my hand. Yeah, we know you know how to negotiate. Let's see if you can do these homework questions first." She hurriedly completed her work and then announced she was all done. I set her up so she could practice calligraphy on her own while I helped the others with their homework. But she found it hard, and without the warmth of personal attention, she soon lost interest. I was writing a girl's name, Moll, and finished the Y with a flourish. Laura, who'd been sitting nearby watching, turned to me with impatience. "How come you only brought one calligraphy pen?" she asked in frustration. Before I could respond, she darted off to join the others playing games on the floor. How come indeed, I thought to myself. In this classroom, holding even one person's attention was a challenge. There were so many noises and distractions, and frankly, it was too easy for the girls to see my calligraphy pen as just another felt pen and miss the meaning and discipline of calligraphy. If something comes too easily, it's easy to discount. I turned to Molly and told her my real goal was to teach them how to do it for themselves. She politely asked if she could try it out. She was new to our group and shy. Doing math and calligraphy together gave us an opportunity to talk. She told me she was good at drawing, and her friends were always asking her if she would draw things for them instead of learning to draw for themselves. She sees herself in me, I thought. She told me she was named after a mermaid. I suggested she make the O in her name into a drawing of a mermaid, and she did. And then she wrote out her cat's name, Roy, and made the O into a cat's face. A budding logo designer, I thought. Across the room, Diana had been coloring flowers and hearts. Now she came over to try her hand at calligraphy and was proud of the result. "This is perfect," she declared almost fiercely. Beside me, Molly was silent, watching. By having only one pen, we had a rare opportunity to observe each other's styles and approaches. Meanwhile, Laura returned and stuffed her papers noisily into her backpack. I sensed she was disappointed. She was the first one I'd shown calligraphy to, and she had wanted to own it and be special. Her calligraphy was progressing normally, but in her mind it had become just one more thing to master. She didn't identify herself as being exceptionally creative, but I saw her as someone who needed to be able to express her identity. She was a scrapper, struggling to be seen. As I walked in the door the next day, 2 tables of girls clamored for my attention. "Sit with us!" "No, sit with me!" "I called for her first." Wow, I thought, now there's a milestone. A few weeks ago, they'd turned away when I'd entered, not wanting to be forced to work with the gray-haired lady. I'd heard one girl say, "Do I have to work with her?" Today, as the girls fought over me, I knew it was less about me and more about calligraphy. As I sat down, one girl produced a list of the names of 15 of her very best friends for me to write. I thought, well, if you want to start a fire, you have to feed it. Apparently, the students were using my calligraphy as gifts to their friends and family. How sweet, I thought. Just then another girl produced her list, and a friend read it over her shoulder. "Jake," she hissed incredulously, and the first girl hurriedly crossed the boy's name off her list. I murmured, wondering who might be feeling left out. I remembered this boy coming into the after-school class very briefly. After he'd left, 2 of the other boys started talking about him, calling him crazy. He'd forgotten his jacket, but neither of the boys wanted to touch it. "Ew," they said, "leave it alone. It's got his cooties all over it." "Would you do my full name?" Alessandra asked. She printed her 5 names on a page. "You print beautifully," I said. "You're going to be a natural at calligraphy." She smiled. She was a keen observer with quiet, thoughtful presence that gave her the aura of being wise beyond her years. "Do you know where all of us are from? Can you tell by our names?" "I know Eva's from Guatemala," I said, "but I don't know where anyone else is from." She smiled, and several of the girls exchanged glances. "We're from Guatemala," she said, nodding. I think she had expected me to say Mexico and realized she was trying to teach me something. I had no idea there were so many students here from Guatemala. Frankly, I'd never even given it a thought. What must it be like to be 13 years old and already realize most people know nothing of your true identity? What must it be like to go through school and learn about all the other countries and cultures and histories except your own? I don't remember learning anything about Central America when I was in school, but granted that was a long time ago. I hoped things had changed. As Adele was practicing a page of letters, her father stopped by to pick her up. "Do you have time for her to finish just one more row of letters?" I asked, and he grinned. I wanted him to see her in action. "You need to get this girl a calligraphy pen. She's hooked." Another girl asked me to write the name of her sister. Just then the sister arrived to pick her up. "She just asked me to write your name," I said. "Do you have time? Do you want it?" "Yes," she responded, pleased at her little sister's thoughtfulness. "How did you learn calligraphy?" Melanie asked one day, and it made me think. I started with my name. Most people like to learn their names first, and then I asked myself, how did I first learn to write? When I was a little kid, we made our way through the alphabet. That's how I learned calligraphy, too. I'd make a page of A's, and then I'd circle the ones I liked. When I got to the point where most of the page was circled, I'd move on to the next letter. It was even more difficult for me because I wasn't using a felt-tip calligraphy pen. My pen had a metal nib that I'd dip into ink. It was a real challenge to try to do a stroke without running out of ink. Melanie had asked me the week before which book and pens to buy and had placed her order online. I brought in my book to show her, and as we went through the dog-eared pages, she excitedly pointed out the design she liked best. She said, "I can't wait until my book comes." Just then a bookmark fell out, and I recognized my mother's handwriting. The book had been a Christmas gift from my parents many years ago. I'd totally forgotten. Both of my parents are gone now, and I relayed to Melanie what a special surprise it was for me to find this bookmark. She seemed touched by the story. Family's important to her as well. "She wrote that to you?" Melanie asked. "Oh yes," I responded. "She was always writing. That's where I got it from." I thought about all the letters I'd written to my mom over the years, the envelopes all hand-addressed in neat calligraphy. That night at home, I stumbled across a wallet containing pictures of all the signs I'd made when I had a sign business many years ago. Of course, I thought, I'll have to bring this in and show them where my love of lettering had led. At the time, I didn't know anything about starting a business, but I followed my passion. I told myself, the only way to do it is just start. Indeed, just start. I brought a pen to school one day, and together my students and I created beauty. We explored our names, our friends, our families, our histories, and our feelings about ourselves and the world. The beauty we created spilled out of the classroom and into our community. I brought a pen to school one day, and my students taught me about themselves. Their questions led me back into my own memories and showed where my love of learning had led. I brought a pen to school one day and started a revolution.